The GOP presidential field gathers in Las Vegas Tuesday for their first debate since the November terror attacks in Paris, and just days after Donald Trump announced a proposal to halt, at least temporarily, all Muslims from entering the United States. Trump again will be center stage. Ted Cruz, who now leads Trump in Iowa, will be immediately to Trump's left. But only one candidate on that stage, according to a new poll, would beat Hillary Clinton in a general election matchup. Bob Cusack is the editor-in-chief of The Hill. He's in our Washington bureau. Great to see you, Bob. So when we're talking about these head-to-head matchups, it looks like among the frontrunners, only Marco Rubio in this hypothetical situation would come out on top. That's got to give the GOP pause.
Yes, and it's something I'm sure Rubio is going to be talking about a lot, because it's all about who can beat Hillary Clinton. And Democrats, they were scared of Jeb Bush, and now they're scared of Marco Rubio. They're less scared of Ted Cruz. They're certainly not scared of Donald Trump. So Marco Rubio is the one figure, because of those figures, those stats, they fear the most. And Marco Rubio, I'm sure, is going to be emphasizing that in the debate.
Just a few days ago, Donald Trump filed to be on the ballot in Ohio as a Republican presidential candidate. And though he keeps talking about running as an independent if the party does not treat him fairly, in Ohio, that would be a difficulty because they have what's commonly known as these sore loser laws. Can you explain why it would be a problem in Ohio?
Well, it would be a problem because now that he's filed in Ohio as a Republican, he can't file as an independent. And as you mentioned, Contessa, this is not the only state that has this law. So therefore, Donald Trump knows that. He has said it would be much harder to win as an independent than as the nominee, and he wants to run as the nominee. But it doesn't look like it could be viable. Very hard to get on all the ballots. Certainly would not be able to get on the ballot in Ohio, which, of course, is a huge state for the general election. So if he runs as an independent, it might be just more out of spite to go against the Republican Party, which he has said at times has treated him unfairly. Certainly, if there's a brokered convention and there's a lot of deal making, the establishment guys are not going to want Trump as their nominee. So, but for him to actually win as an independent, very unlikely. But could he get on some state ballots? Absolutely, because he could finance his run, and he would likely get in the debates because he would have the polling threshold of what you need to get into those general election debates. It would change the whole dynamic of the race at that point.
We've spent a lot of time focused on Iowa, the first in the nation with its caucuses, and Ted Cruz making a real surge there, some inroads. In New Hampshire, we're seeing a surprising surge as well for Chris Christie. That's where he has spent most of his time and his energy focusing on New Hampshire. And in this latest poll, it shows that while Trump is still leading with 27% support, Christie is starting to make some headway and coming in second now with 12% support. What does that mean in terms of the broader nominating process for Chris Christie, who's going to be on the main stage tomorrow night in Las Vegas, and who has, as I said, made New Hampshire the real focus of his campaign strategy?
Well, Christie has to do very well in New Hampshire. As you mentioned, he spent a lot of time there. I saw him on the stump in Manchester a couple months back. He's very good. He's very good with crowds. He's been very good in the debates. However, the Republican base doesn't forgive him for working with President Obama during Hurricane Sandy. So he has to at least finish a strong second in New Hampshire. His path to the nomination, I think still, even if he gets that, it's very difficult because he's going to have to do well in the South on Super Tuesday. He's not going to do well in Iowa because the base doesn't view him as conservative enough. But he talks a good game on national security. He's very tough talking on ISIS. And so that's why I think that he has gotten a bump in New Hampshire. But he's got a long way to go to get the nomination.
And finally, when we're talking about Ted Cruz and him doing so well in Iowa right now, the strategy seems to be by Trump and by Rubio, by Jeb Bush, and Chris Christie to go ahead and try to paint Ted Cruz as an isolationist. How much has Trump hidden or camouflaged some of those very arch-conservative views of Ted Cruz because Trump, quite frankly, grabs the headlines and the spotlight?
Yeah, well, recently Trump has said that he's gone after Cruz for not having the right temperament to be president, and some Republicans were rolling their eyes at that, saying that Trump doesn't have the temperament. But you have to see Trump is going to go after Cruz in this debate because he's a serious threat. Cruz is doing very well in Iowa. I think he's now the favorite to win Iowa. I think that's clear. But as far as New Hampshire, as you mentioned, Trump is doing very well in New Hampshire. So Cruz's strategy is to do well in Iowa, do well in South Carolina, and then on Super Tuesday, in a lot of those southern states, that's when he expects to pick up a lot of delegates. But I think Republicans are going to go after Ted Cruz, saying that he can't beat Hillary Clinton. He can't appeal to independents. Cruz has said he's going to win Reagan Democrats. I think that remains to be seen.
Bob, in previous polls, though, we've seen that electability not be very high up on people's concerns. Is that going to be a winning issue, a winning argument that he can't beat Hillary Clinton?
Well, Ted Cruz has a good answer for it. He says, well, listen, we need to nominate a conservative, and we didn't nominate a conservative in 2008 with John McCain, and we didn't nominate a conservative in 2012 with Mitt Romney. So he's saying, now let's finally nominate a conservative. I think electability, when it comes down to it, Republicans do want to win, so it may not be polling high now, but down the stretch when they go in there, they want someone that's confident that's going to beat Hillary Clinton so that they finally get back the White House after 2 terms of Barack Obama.
Bob Cusack, nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Contessa.